It's 3 a.m. You're wide awake. Your phone is glowing in the dark, and you think something is wrong with you. But for most of human history, this exact moment was not a malfunction. It was normal. It happened to nearly everyone, every single night, for thousands of years before you were born. So here's a question worth sitting with. What if the problem was never your sleep? What if the problem is everything around it? You've been taught that sleep is supposed to be one long block, 8 hours. Lights off, lights on. Anything less feels broken. Anything less feels like failure. Your ancestors would find that idea strange. Historian A. Roger Ekirch spent years digging through old court records, private diaries, and forgotten medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. What he found quietly rewrote what we thought we knew about the night. People didn't sleep in one piece. They slept in two. First sleep, then an hour, sometimes two, of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. Then second sleep, carrying them through until dawn. What did they do in that gap? They didn't scroll. They didn't panic about the time. They prayed. They talked in low voices. Some had sex. Some got up and visited neighbors down the road in the pitch dark without a second thought. Others simply lay there, letting their minds wander wherever they wanted to go. Ekirch found hundreds of written references to this waking period, treated as ordinary as breakfast. Nobody called it insomnia. They called it first sleep and second sleep, the same way you'd casually say lunch and dinner. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you let your mind just wander in the dark, with nowhere to be and nothing to check? Anthropologist Carol Worthman, who has spent decades studying sleep across cultures at Emory University, found something else that Western sleep habits tend to hide. In most traditional societies, sleep was never a private, isolated act. It happened in groups. Families, extended relatives, sometimes entire camps sleeping close together, often near a fire. That fire wasn't just for warmth, it was protection. Predators, cold, and darkness made solitary sleep genuinely dangerous for most of human history. Sleeping in a cluster meant safety in numbers. And it meant something else too. It meant somebody, somewhere in the group, was almost always still awake. In 2017, researcher Alyssa Crittenden tracked the sleep of 33 Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania for 20 straight nights. Her team expected some overlap in sleep timing. What they found instead was startling. Across all 20 nights, there were only 18 total minutes when every single person in the group was asleep at the same time. 18 minutes out of 20 entire nights. In other words, someone in that camp was awake almost constantly, not because anyone was struggling to sleep, because the group as a whole was quietly taking turns keeping watch without ever having to say so out loud. Which raises a strange and fascinating question. What if that instinct never actually left you? In 2016, sleep researchers Masako Tamaki and Yuka Sasaki at Brown University discovered something remarkable happening inside the modern human brain. When people sleep somewhere unfamiliar for the first time, one hemisphere of the brain stays measurably more alert than the other. Lighter sleep, faster responses to sound, a kind of built-in night watch running quietly in the background, even now, even in a hotel room, even in you. Scientists call it the first night effect, and it looks almost exactly like the ancient camp behavior Worthman described, except now it's happening inside a single skull instead of across an entire group. You are in a very real sense still posting a guard. Your brain just never got the memo that the danger is gone. So if your body already knew how to do this, why does waking at 3 a.m. feel so wrong now instead of normal? Sleep researcher Jerome Siegel wanted to know whether Ekirch's two-part European pattern was truly ancient or just a regional habit that happened to get written down. He studied 3 modern hunter-gatherer societies still living without electric light: the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, and the Chimane in Bolivia. His findings surprised almost everyone, including him. These groups usually slept in one continuous stretch, much like we assume is natural, but they slept less than modern guidelines claim you need, and they went to bed hours after sunset, not right at dusk. And here's the detail that should make you sit up. Chronic insomnia, the condition millions of people quietly struggle with today, barely exists in their vocabulary. There isn't even a clean word for it in some of these languages. So if it isn't the number of sleep phases, and it isn't some lost genetic gift for perfect rest, what actually changed? The answer isn't sleep itself, it's light. Before artificial light, night was long, painfully long. Depending on the season, a person in medieval Europe might spend 12, even 14 hours in total darkness, with nowhere to go and nothing demanding their attention. No single unbroken sleep pattern could comfortably fill that much time. So the body adapted. It built in a pause, a quiet pocket of wakefulness, folded neatly into a very long night. Then came the candle. Gas lighting, flickering in city streets. Then in the late 1900s, the electric bulb, and everything about the night quietly changed. Chronobiologist Charles Czeisler has spent decades studying how light governs your internal clock, down to the minute. His research shows that even dim household lighting in the evening is enough to delay your body's release of melatonin, the hormone that tells your brain it's time to sleep. Push bedtime later, compress the dark hours you actually spend in bed, and that middle-of-the-night pause simply runs out of room. It gets squeezed out of existence, one light bulb at a time. Which means the 3 a.m. your brain jolts awake for tonight isn't a glitch in your biology. It isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's an echo, a leftover instinct reaching for a pause and a purpose that the modern world quietly removed the space for. Think about that for a second. Your ancestors spent that quiet hour connecting, talking in low voices to the person beside them, watching over a sleeping camp, letting a half-formed thought finish itself before drifting back down. You spend it reaching for your phone. Same ancient window in the night, completely different use. Here's one more question worth asking yourself. If a whole camp of people once needed someone awake to keep them safe, what exactly is your brain still standing guard for at 3 a.m. alone in a locked room? Some sleep researchers now believe that gap of quiet, undistracted consciousness, not quite awake and not quite dreaming, was where some of history's clearest thinking happened. Worries got processed without an audience. Problems quietly solved themselves in the dark. Ideas took shape before anyone else in the camp or the house was awake to interrupt them. Modern sleep, unbroken and rushed, doesn't leave room for any of that anymore. You go from unconscious straight to alarm clock in one hard cut, with no space in between to simply think. So the next time you wake at 3 a.m. and your first instinct is to panic or reach for a screen, try something different instead. Lie still. Let your mind wander the way a mind was built to wander in the dark, long before electricity ever asked it to stop. You're not broken. You're not failing at sleep. You haven't done anything wrong. You're just doing something your body has quietly done for thousands of years, standing a watch nobody asked you to stand, in a world that forgot to leave you the space to stand it in peace. It's 3 a.m. You're wide awake, and for the first time, maybe that doesn't feel like something is wrong with you at all. Maybe it just feels like something very, very old finally being remembered.